My name is Ryan Turner, and I'll be presenting this module for testing and inspection. We'll be going through a lot of the various DSA forms that are required for reporting structural testing and special inspection on DSA projects. The primary code that forms the basis for this module will be the California Building Code, or CBC. It's also the California Code of Regulations, Title 24, Part 2. And for this class, we'll be focused on the 2019 edition of the CBC. Here's an overview of the section topics that we'll be covering in this module. We'll start out by going through some of the definitions as it relates to testing and special inspection. Then we'll go over an overview of the model code changes as it relates to the 2019 code edition. Because project inspectors usually perform or provide oversight of the special inspection testing program, you're all probably typically going to be code experts in this area. So just want to remind you that while the project inspector should be focused really on what testing and inspection that are identified on the drawings, your experience and background may help you to identify and spot items that could be potentially missed or unnecessary. So if that's the case, if you recall from the chain of command in the admin module that we did earlier, that you watched earlier, please go ahead and bring that to the attention of the design professional or the DSA field engineer for further direction. So moving on, in the third bullet, we'll also go through test and inspection lists that are going to be on the form DSA 103. And note in parentheses it says IM Appendix B, so that would be the inspector manual, Appendix B. For this particular one, that one might get moved around or revised, so just be aware of that in the future, in the next version of the inspector manual. We'll also go through the test lab oversight, and then the last three relate to special inspection. So again, we'll provide definitions and then oversight as it relates specifically to special inspection, and then also some special inspection items that might get performed by the project inspector. Here's an overview of the code changes for Chapter 17A of the CBC. So in the model code, if you recall, there are margin markings that have revision bars that will identify any change from one model code to the next, or from one addition to the next in the model code. You're going to find that there are a lot of revision bars in the code for the 2019 edition, but there's really not that many significant changes. Here's a list of the main significant changes for the 2019 as compared to the 2016. So again, anything that's new or revised in the 2019 CBC is going to be identified in red font, underlined. In this presentation will be red font, underlined, and then also have the red diamond cloverleaf bullet symbol. So significant changes, a lot of the chapter-specific definitions have been moved to Chapter 2. The model code is also renumbered. Section 1701.2 is now 1702 for new materials. There have been a lot of items that have been added and code references to CBC table 1705A.2.1 for steel and 1705A.3 for concrete, and that's to make it more consistent with industry practice as well as other DSA requirements. There's also a lot of pointer references for special inspection and testing for many sections that have been added. And there are a few IR requirements or interpretation of regulations that have been around for DSA that have been incorporated into the code. So those will not be new items to you all because you would have been following them in the IR, but now that they're incorporated into the code, it's going to look like a new change. There's also a lot of reference pointers to other chapters. The goal is to have a lot of the items, or the majority of the items, in Chapter 17A in the next code cycle, and then those testing and inspection requirements will be referenced from the material chapters where they occur. CBC 1701A.4 has a lot of the special inspection and test. So in addition to the project inspector, the owner is going to employ approved agencies or labs and to provide the special inspections and test as required by the enforcement agency during construction. But as you all know, with current DSA practice, a lot of times the project inspector will end up performing a lot of the special inspections for light frame construction. And that's just been common practice for a long time with DSA. Here are some definitions to help provide some background on tests and special inspections. So tests are going to be performed on materials prior to construction or on the components of the structure after they've been completed. The technician does not have to be present during the work. Inspections, though, are going to be performed during the construction. The inspector will be performing the inspections while the work is going on, but the inspections can also include aspects that take place prior to or after the construction. And then observations are going to be performed by the designers, so the architects, structural engineers, or other engineers on their representative portions of the construction. Note that it's never an acceptable alternative to inspection. So for example, if you had ultrasonic examination of welds after completion, this would be considered a test. But the visual inspection of the welds in progress is an inspection. Also, a visual examination of a completed weld is not considered to be an inspection of the weld, so it would be considered a test or simply an observation. In this first bullet, I wanted to point out that CBC section 1702A has been relocated from the 2016 CBC, section 1701A.2. There are also some definitions that have relocated to Chapter 2 from the 2016 CBC 1702A.1. This includes approved agency, also continuous and periodic special inspection. So those are going to be each restated in the special inspection definition. Then also quality control and quality assurance. So QA and QC have been clarified. QA is going to apply to the owner, the project inspector, special inspection, and special inspection, and the lab roles. And then QC for quality control is going to apply just to the contractor. Special inspection of fabricated items is going to be found in CBC section 1704A.2.5. As you'll see here, there's not much new in the 2019 CBC. We continued previous deleting of exceptions that allowed special inspection to be waived for approved fabricators. If you recall, DSA does not approve fabricators. OSHPD now aligns with DSA on this. There is one exception for DSA, and that's going to be interior bleachers. So if you refer to DSA IR 16-5.16, there's some information regarding special inspection for those fabricated items.